Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're going to talk about a piece of tech you've probably seen 1,000 times, but maybe never really thought about: HD radio.
Yeah, you've seen that little logo glowing on your car's dashboard, right? But what it actually stands for is this incredibly clever piece of engineering. It's a fundamental upgrade to good old FM radio, and it lets broadcasters do stuff that, well, it should be impossible.
Okay, so let's dive in. First things first, what is HD radio? And here's a little spoiler for you. It's got almost nothing to do with high-definition sound. Surprising, right?
And look, this isn't some niche little thing. We're talking about a technology that has just quietly become the standard. Over 110 million cars in North America have it, and it lets broadcasters pull off this amazing trick. They can add a ton more content without needing any new airwaves.
Which of course brings us to the big question, right? How in the world do you fit more stuff onto a radio frequency that's already jam-packed? It really does sound like magic, but nope, it's just some seriously brilliant engineering.
So, the tech that makes this all work is called in-band on-channel, or IBOC for short. I know it's a mouthful, but the concept is actually pretty simple. It just means the new digital signal and the old analog one are sharing the exact same frequency. They're on the same road. And that's absolutely crucial because it means all those older cars with regular radios, they still work just fine.
And this is a fantastic way to picture what's going on. Think of that classic analog signal as the main lane on a highway. What HD radio does is it cleverly paves new digital lanes on the shoulders, that little bit of unused space on either side. And those new lanes carry all this extra audio and data, all without having to build a brand new highway. It's so smart.
Okay, but this super clever solution creates a massive new problem, a really, really big one. I'm talking a potentially show-stopping problem that's measured in whole seconds. And trust me, in the world of broadcasting, a few seconds is an absolute eternity.
So here's where things get tricky. Look at the analog path. It's simple, it's direct. The audio goes from the studio to your car almost instantly. But the digital path? Whoa, that's a whole different story. That new signal has to go through a ton of heavy processing. It has to be compressed, encoded, and packaged up before it can be squeezed into those digital shoulders we talked about. And all that digital processing, it takes time. It creates this huge delay. We're talking, on average, a full 8 seconds. So the digital version of the song you're hearing is a whole 8 seconds behind the analog version of the exact same song. So just picture this for a second. You're in your car, listening to the crystal clear digital station. You drive under a bridge, the signal hiccups for a split second, and your radio automatically switches to the analog backup. But what happens? You suddenly jump back in time 8 seconds. The DJ would sound like a terrible echo. It would be a chaotic, jumbled mess. You literally couldn't listen to it.
So you've got this massive 8-second echo problem. How on earth do you solve it? Well, the solution is one of those things that's just elegant. It's brilliantly simple as an idea, but incredibly difficult to actually pull off. You know, the solution is completely backwards from what you'd expect. You can't speed up the digital signal. The processing just takes as long as it takes. So they did the opposite. They decided to slow down the analog one. They intentionally put an 8-second delay on the analog audio so that when both signals leave the broadcast tower, they are perfectly in sync.
And getting that timing just right is this really meticulous 4-step dance. First, the engineers have to measure the exact delay of the digital signal, down to the microsecond. Then, they program a matching delay for the analog audio. Step 3 is all about fine-tuning that alignment with just microscopic precision. And finally, they have systems that are constantly monitoring everything to make sure it never, ever drifts out of sync. And when I say precision, I am not kidding. Look at this critical spec. It says the time alignment has to be kept within, get this, plus or minus 3 audio samples. That's it. Anything more than that tiny little window, and you, the listener, would hear an audible echo. This is not a close enough kind of job. It has to be dead-on perfect.
So what in the world is 3 audio samples in a unit of time we can understand? It's 68 microseconds. And a microsecond is 1/millionth of a second. Let that sink in. If the timing is off by more than 68 millionths of a second, the whole illusion falls apart. It is just an absolutely astonishing feat of engineering.
Okay, so they solved this massive, mind-bending timing problem. Now for the fun part, the payoff. What does all of this incredible behind-the-scenes work actually get you, the person listening in the car?
All right, here it is, the biggest win, multicasting. This means that one single FM frequency, let's say 98.7 FM, can now broadcast up to 4 totally different stations at the same time. The HD-WAN channel is that super clear digital copy of the main station you already know. But then you can just tap a button and tune to HD2, HD3, or HD4 and get completely different formats. Maybe the rock station has an all-80s channel on HD2 or a deep cuts channel on HD3. It's a game changer.
And it's way more than just extra audio. That digital stream is jam-packed with data. That's how your radio knows the song title and the artist's name. It's how it can pop up the album art on your screen. It can even send real-time traffic info right to your car's navigation system. All of this data, which is totally free by the way, turns your car radio from a dumb receiver into a genuinely smart device.
So what's the actual piece of hardware that pulls this all off? It's a box called an exciter. This is where the magic really happens at the radio station. It's the device that takes that perfectly delayed analog signal, combines it with all the new digital channels and data, and merges them into that one single hybrid signal that then gets blasted out from the broadcast tower.
But you know, technology never stands still. The next big evolution for radio is already underway, and it's a huge shift. We're talking about moving away from all this complex, expensive hardware at the transmitter site and moving it all into flexible software that lives in the cloud.
So just imagine this. In the near future, a radio station's back room is going to look a lot less like a broadcast facility and a lot more like a server farm. Instead of all this specialized gear at every single tower, all the hard work, the encoding, that critical time alignment, it can all happen in one central place, maybe a data center or even just in the cloud. Then the final perfect radio signal is just sent to the tower over a simple internet connection.
And this all leads to a really fascinating final thought. When you move from physical hardware to virtual software, you fundamentally change the definition of what a radio station even is. I mean, if the entire brain of a station lives in the cloud and can be accessed from anywhere, what's to stop your favorite little local station from becoming a global broadcast powerhouse?